Welcome back, Capstone learners. This is the final video for the literature review section of your capstone project, Chapter 2. We're going to focus for a few minutes on the theoretical framework, as well as taking just a brief moment or two to talk about summarizing the final pieces to Chapter 2. So what do we mean by theoretical framework? Well, quite honestly, the theoretical framework is the design by which you intend to support the hypothesis of your study. So in other words, we're really trying to get set up the theory or the design or the plan in which you wish to take in Chapter 3. You're going to explain that a little bit. So for instance, my example here would be the extent to which induction programs impact the self-efficacy of new teachers in urban schools. That's been our working example so far. My underlying theory is that induction programs will in fact be impacted by, impact self-efficacy of new teachers. It's my responsibility to look at all of these pieces like self-efficacy, like induction programs, like new urban teachers, and all of those pieces. We've talked a little bit about that before, but one of the other things I need to do is talk a little bit about the methodology or the plan of attack in which I would go about doing this. So on the screen here before you are 4 areas to consider. There are others you could think about, but first of all, the learning theory. So in other words, mine was self-efficacy. If we can get people to feel like they can do it, are they in fact able to do it if they think they can do it? So how is that strategy related to learning theory? We want to look at that idea a little bit. We want to look at the impact on student learning, how self-efficacy in my example would work. What paradigms and philosophies is it rooted in? Who started this idea? Who talked about that? My curricular foundation, if it's applicable for your study, could ask the following questions that you see before you. How is the study supporting research on curriculum for this area? How is it founded? How is it put together? What curricular design, what is the curricular design for this area of academic learning? What other foundational philosophical beliefs are important there? For content specifics, if I'm going to look at induction programs, is there some special consideration that I should be emphasizing for this particular area? Are we all understanding it the same way? And do I need to go into depth with how other people have tested or studied or looked at this idea in the past? Probably worthy of me to check that out. What special considerations might influence or impact learning as a part of this idea? And then the one part that seems to elude some people from time to time as they do the research study is, whatever plan of attack I do plan to study this topic, mine happened to be survey research at the time, I owe it to my reader to talk about the background of survey research. What have the experts said on survey research? That's a debatable topic, and I think people need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, quite honestly, about that particular idea. Maybe you're going to do a case study approach. Maybe you're doing some sort of a qualitative or quantitative test. We need to know what the background and the research says about using that particular approach to studying your topic. How does the literature support that? What are the recommended best practices with using those methodologies? All things to consider as we move forward. And then finally, as we conclude this literature review, probably one of the larger sections, if you've really collected a lot of data on your topic, we want to make sure that we briefly recap all the main sections of the literature review. So, as we looked at the previous slide, the curricular foundations, if it's applicable, the theoretical pieces that are there, the methodology that's kind of there. We want to make sure we highlight those ideas. Now, it's worthy to note that you may change or modify the headings inside of these ideas, but your review of the literature should cover these areas shared in these presentations that I've talked to you about. So in other words, these major headings dealing with methodology, dealing with curricular foundation, and so on, all need to be in there in some sort of an idea. Those are all big key ideas, and so make sure you briefly touch upon it one more time before you walk out of Chapter 2 and you start to go into Chapter 3. It's important that we remember this paper is going to read kind of like 5 mini papers. Each chapter kind of has a standalone feel to it. So it's your responsibility to bring some closure to it, and at times, if you want, you can kind of give us a little sneak preview into where you're going into the next chapter. In our case, for right now, it would be Chapter 3. As always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact your capstone mentor or contact me directly as the overseer of the capstone course. We'd be happy to help you in any way we can. God's continued blessings as you work through chapter 2 and you make your way on to the additional chapters of your project.